Hey everybody, Ethan Hammond here for your running and mobility coaching needs. So going through the workout we had today, which was sprint intervals, so basically um, 10 reps, 250-meter sprints as fast as you bloody can. Looking for an all-out effort every single time, asterisk little exceptions here and there. Um, One of the most important things with these sprint intervals that I want to go through, and I'll talk through how I structured this workout, how I went through it myself, and kind of what the methodology, what the ideas are that we need to be thinking about in order to make sprint work appropriate for you, relatively. So the workout itself is just 10 reps of 250-meter sprints. Now, we want to be tackling this with the idea of progressive overload. So just like we would do with pretty much any workout that we do, we want progressive overload. We want time under tension, but appropriate time under tension. We want to make sure that the intensity is there and that when the intensity dwindles enough, and it'll be a case that if we continue trying for that intensity, we are not going to hit it. That's when we want to back off and give ourselves enough recovery time, whether that's quite active or passive, and get our bodies back to the point of being able to sustain high intensity again. So again, this was meant to be pretty much all out efforts. My time goal for each one was to make every single run under 1 minute. And I did do that except for one, which was intentional. So here are the results from my runs. So just going through really quick, all of them under a minute, starting off 54 seconds, 56, 56, 56, very consistent, 52 seconds. So that was for the first half. The fifth one was actually my fastest, which I was impressed by. Now, I have been playing around a little bit with my stride mechanics, basically either thinking slightly more of a front of the hip pull versus almost entirely 100% hamstring pull for bringing my heel up. And it's very much, I feel almost a little bit sluggish, which I see through these first four as like that's when I'm trying to pull my knee slightly up higher, so my knee's slightly more in front, and my heel is coming more in a straight line towards my butt rather than dragging behind my body with a more of a strict hamstring pull. And I feel a lot more sluggish with that, which I find interesting, but shifting then to a very hamstring dominant pull for my heel, I feel a lot faster. I feel like I have a lot more potential for sprinting and all out effort, and I was able to get that for basically the last five. So what happens here, guys? I want to be doing my all-out sprints. I have 90 seconds for resting. That little bit, that is something that's not important in terms of the numerical value. What is important is that it's enough time for you to recover and perform at that intensity again, which I very clearly did, especially for these first four, pretty damn close to each other. So 56, 56, 56 seconds, 3 times in a row. I was hitting my recovery just fine to be able to sustain that intensity almost exactly every single time. So it was it was interval number 4 when it got to the point of like, oh crap, during the run, like I am getting exhausted. I'm not going to be able to maintain this intensity again, even though I did. So self-doubt getting in the way, well, not in terms of the performance, just like mentally in the way, and rested up for that. So did my 90 seconds. And then for this fifth interval, all out effort, because I knew pretty early on, I don't know if it was in the middle of this run or during my rest in between intervals 4 and 5, but I started to be like, my heart rate's not coming down. My breath is getting quite erratic. And I'll talk about how to follow your breath. That's what I do follow for my intervals, and that kind of determines how am I going to structure my rest periods during this in terms of my rest intervals. So I did my fifth one, and I got to the point of my breathing is just ragged. I had at least 30 seconds of just, and I don't want it to be under that much duress. So even with these all-out sprints, it's only 250 meters. Doing pretty much as fast as I bloody can at a pace, like if you literally go as fast as you can, you're only going to sustain that for like 10 to 20 seconds maybe. So we're talking about the pace just underneath that. So more like a 9 out of 10 effort that you can hold for upwards of a minute, at least for my case. So, and we'll talk about individualizing this in just a little bit. So went through that fifth lap. That was the hardest one so far. My breathing was absolutely awful. By the time it was time for my 6th interval to start, my breathing was not under control. So I take that 1 as being just a recovery lap. 250 meters again, just a nice, easy, gentle jog. Don't worry about the time at all. Did that in about a minute and a half. So I've got basically 3 rounds of a minute and a half is what that comes out to, minus 5 seconds. So 270 seconds, 265 seconds, thereabouts, total for actual recovery. And then take that into the next round. So my 7th interval, I was probably still recovering. 59 seconds, just a shade under the minute that I wanted. It's fine. The next 3 were my fastest, pretty much the fastest, same there. But 49 seconds, 50 seconds, and then 52 seconds, which was, of course, an all-out sprint. I'm like, hey, this is the very last one. I'm going to give it all I've got. Okay, so what you would want to do, regardless of your skill level, actually, we're going to take this from the perspective of you're a total beginner. And so what we're going to do here, guys, is we can adjust the amount of intervals. We can adjust the distance to something that's more sustainable. I'm going to say, let's plot out a length that you're going to be able to do in under a minute. Whether, you might be jogging, but if it's a case of you get to about that 50-second mark and you're really tired, okay, let's plot out for that point. Let's find a pace that 50 to 55 seconds at that pace, you're exhausted. We'll figure out what that distance is, or we'll just simply we'll try to subjectively aim for that intensity for that amount of time. Is that making sense? Are you tracking me on this? And some of this you have to just go with experience. You have to adjust maybe in the middle of a workout, either adding in some intervals or taking away. It doesn't really matter. But what might happen is you might start off with 5 reps of 200 meters, and you try for 1, and it's really freaking hard. So you take the next one off. Just a nice recovery lap, and then you go really hard to the next one. The point is that you want to keep at to about the same time. So you want to learn to manage your breathing, manage your recovery in such a way that you can maintain that intensity. If it were to happen that, let's just say, for example, my 7th interval was an all-out sprint, or it felt like an all-out sprint, and it was still over a minute, I am too tired. I cannot maintain intensity. The whole goal of this is intensity. The goal is not to go out there and jog. It is not to just simply go out there and just move. It is to move my body at the highest intensity, the highest level that I can, and no slower. So rest time needs to accommodate for that, because these are the important parts, these 10 intervals, technically 9 intervals. That 6th one, it's just extra recovery time. It's not really part of the work here. So you need to adjust your rest time. It could be 90 seconds, it could be 2 minutes, it could be 5 minutes. Whatever you need to. 5 minutes is probably actually legitimately adequate for a lot of beginner runners and a lot of beginner sprinters for maintaining that top intensity. When I say top intensity, again, it's more like a 9 out of 10 effort, especially for this duration and for that distance. So maintaining intensity is the name of the game there, okay? That makes sense. Now, what I always do whenever I'm running, whenever I'm working out, I always make it a point to follow my breath. This is super important. Breath work comes in 3 phases, and this kind of tells you how exhausted you are, how much control you have over your physiology, how much control you have over your relaxation and your recovery and the intensity, okay? Now, first phase, number 1, is all nasal. This is so 2 in, 1 out, but all through the nose. Mouth stays shut. Your mouth does not open. It does not open until you get to the point of feeling like crap. If I keep my mouth shut, I feel like I'm going to suffocate. That's when you start opening your mouth. All right? So very first round, this was as hard as I could bloody go. 54 seconds. It was all through the nose. Could not sustain that after that. During the recovery, my mouth had to open. What happens is that this is a smaller hole than this, right? Obviously, that makes sense. So that means that your airways, your breathing volume, what your capacity for taking in air not the total capacity that you can take in, but the rate at which you can bring that in, it is reduced. You cannot breathe into total volume through your nose as fast as you can through your mouth. And same thing with going out, if that makes sense. That's going to take a lot longer than just because it's a bigger hole, right? So this helps to regulate our breathing. It helps to regulate our CO2. CO2 is important because CO2 levels determine how your body interprets your fatigue levels. And that can modulate your energy levels and how good you feel or how bad you feel. All right, so what happens, guys, is you keep it to entirely nasal breathing, all through your nose, 100% through the nose. Keep your mouth shut when you start off exercising, especially for sprints. And you want to stay like that until you feel like you're suffocating. When you're like, oh crap, I can't physically do this anymore. Then you open your mouth. But now it's going to become phase 2. That is 2 inhales. That's the double inhale. So breathe in and then breathe in on top of that. It's a much more forceful inhale, helps to inflate your lungs, and you can take in a lot more air on the inhale. Legitimately, it works really freaking well for modulating your breath. So 2 in, nasal, and then 1 out, mouth. So this is what, probably rounds 2, 3, I'll say 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. I don't remember at the end, but probably 8. So those 6 intervals were probably at phase number 2. And it was really just entirely nasal breathing for that very first one. Now, all of them will start off as just simply, but that's going to be for probably the first 10-15 seconds, maybe, and then it becomes, and it's keeping to that pattern of breath, which is going to massively help, especially over time. Maybe not in the moment. In the moment, especially when you're a beginner at this, it's probably going to feel like absolute hell. But it's something that's extremely valuable for getting used to. More on that later. And then once you've gone through enough duration of, this is hard work, you're maintaining absolute intensity, then becomes, we're just going to call it panting, because that's really all that is. That's definitely what at least the second half of rep 9 was, and pretty much the entirety of rep 10 was just breathing in and out through the mouth as fast as you can. I could not hold nasal breathing whatsoever. Okay? If you can keep your breathing under control, your recovery is definitely going to be on point, and it's going to help you recover faster. Now, we can talk later if people want about the breath work and how that helps to modulate CO2 levels and how that works. The biochemistry is amazing. Y'all should totally do hashtag breath work, and we'll do a little video on that later on. It's fascinating. If you want to be a better athlete, you need to be able to breathe better. That's so freaking important. But people get really weird. I've been working as a coach, been working with athletes across, America and the UK now for over a decade, and people get weird about breath work. They seem to think it's like this weird voodoo yoga magic thing. It's like, no, it's taking in oxygen and breathing out carbon dioxide, and it helps to regulate your blood chemistry. Your blood is, where the magic happens. It's where the biochemistry happens, where the metabolism happens. Of course, if you can influence that, it'll make you a better athlete, or a worse athlete if you mismanage it. It just makes sense. Anyways, that's just a tangent for later. Mobility work. How do you prep for these runs, especially for sprinting? Because you need to be able to lunge through full range of motion. So massage work, definitely foot massage with your favorite massage therapy balls. Get the AcuPoint or the Yoga Tune-Up ones. Don't get anything else. Don't do like the cork or the lacrosse balls or the concrete balls or an ice ball or anything where get some actual massage therapy balls, invest in them. They're like $10, £10 for a pair. They'll last you several years. It's worth it. Come on, guys. We need to stop using the freaking lacrosse balls. They're horrible for massage. All right, so foot massage, shin. People always forget this. Shin, quads, and also belly. This is both before and after. Mobility work is always before and after. I feel like that needs to be reiterated pretty much like every hour, before and after the run. Okay, so thinking warm up and cool down. Warm up and cool down is the same. The only real difference is that the massage work you do before is a minute or less per thing. So like less than a minute per foot. Post workout, it's 2 minutes per area. Makes sense? Like before, you just want to stimulate the tissues, so you don't want to go long enough that it really makes them relaxed, because you don't want to be going into a workout super relaxed. You want to have some tone to your nervous system. You want to be alert and ready to go. You don't want to be drowsy or feeling like, oh man, I don't even want to get off the couch. You don't want to have that kind of mentality going into it. Hope that makes sense. I have to periodically check, make sure the light's still on my mic, because there's no battery monitor for it. If anyone can recommend a Bluetooth or a wireless mic that has a battery monitor on it, this is just simply blue, it's on, it's connected to nothing. It's really annoying. It has gone out on me a few times in some videos. It's so irritating. Anyways, floss, guys. Voodoo Floss. Go to Rogue Fitness, get the Mobility Wad Voodoo Floss. Why don't you already have this? It's absolutely insane to me that so few people have even heard of this. We need to be using this stuff more and more, but kind of the same thing. We want to use that on the feet and ankles. We want to use that on the knees/quads. And same thing as before, whenever I talk about using Voodoo Floss, about 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off, working up these areas. Make sure you're budgeting out. So this was like 25 minutes of work or so, give or take. The mobility work, that should be another like 15 to 20 minutes on either side of it. If you already have like full range of motion in your body, the warm-up part isn't so important. Doing a nice little jog while getting your breath increased, that's usually enough if you have strong range of motion already. If you are really stiff and really tight, do this stuff. That should be like, go through a couple of rounds of it, 10-15 minutes, get full range of motion, because you need to be able to display range of motion in order to have intensity. It doesn't work the other way around. You cannot have intensity while being extraordinarily stiff and tight. Your body will prohibit it because of safety reasons. Your brain does not like it. And then floss, definitely before the run. Warm up with Voodoo Floss. That will make you a better runner in every way possible. You will be able to breathe better. You'll be able to run better. You will heal better afterwards. You don't need as much cool down if your warm up is on point. So that's super important. If anyone needs any more information or suggestions on that stuff, please feel free to let me know. I did not have that on screen, did I, at all? There you go, guys. All right, if you have any questions whatsoever, please let me know. I was aiming for this to be 15 minutes. We just hit 18 minutes. Oh well. Take care, guys. I will see you guys later. And hope you have a good day. Hope it's sunny out there for you guys. It is quite overcast and windy here today. Anyways, bye.